Have you ever felt like you were finally making progress and your social anxiety was reducing, and then you got triggered by something and it felt like you were back at square one? If so, you're not alone, and there's a reason for why that happens. Tell you a little story about my client, let's call him Karl. I started working with him last year, and he had a whole bunch of situations in which he felt anxious. And one of them being jiu-jitsu. So we started working on why he felt anxious at jiu-jitsu, and we talked about his relationship with his dad and how he felt inferior and belittled, and we worked through the emotions and the beliefs there in the first session. Made big progress, felt a lot of relief. Second session he shows up, everything's still the same, nothing changed. I'm like, okay, no worries, that is often the case, it's fine. I'm reassuring him that everything's okay. We keep working on things. We start working through how he got bullied when he was in puberty and his relationship to his coach at the time, and we address beliefs and we help him feel more at ease. And at the end of the session, he has, again, a big shift, feels much more at ease with himself, has made peace with certain things that happened, let go of a lot of trauma, and so on. And next session I see him and nothing changed again. We keep doing this, and after the fourth session, he comes to me and he's like, things have changed. And not just the jiu-jitsu. He told me that the bouncer or the guard at his place, normally that was intimidating for him, but now he actually found himself striking up a conversation, and it just went effortless. And even in the elevator, where he normally would freeze up and feel very uncomfortable, he found himself making eye contact with people, saying hello, and just being quite relaxed. Then in his jiu-jitsu experience, he noticed that he didn't have any anticipatory anxiety anymore. So in advance of him going there, before he would always worry and feel anxiety and dread, even though he'd been going for years. He was an experienced practitioner. So that wasn't there anymore. He didn't have that pre-anxiety ahead of it. And then when he got to jiu-jitsu, he also felt a lot more comfortable. He had a tiny bit of anxiety left, but he felt much more connected, and he actually had a pretty decent experience. I'm like, great, should we keep working on this? And he had some other big things to work on, so we shifted focus and started working on that. Anyway, I don't hear him about jiu-jitsu anymore, and a couple of sessions later, he starts the session with, my social anxiety is back at jiu-jitsu, and he's quite down about it and worried, and what if it never goes away? What if I have to live with my social anxiety forever? Maybe I'm just a tough case. The usual conversation. So I help him come to terms with where he's at, tapping on his feelings in the moment, addressing his beliefs about not being able to change, reassuring him that this is normal, that people go through this, that change is an up and down journey, but eventually you break through, and that this isn't actually a setback, that this is simply the next part of his healing journey. So we uncovered what was going on. What actually had happened was he again had no anticipatory anxiety and had been going to his weekly jiu-jitsu or his twice a week jiu-jitsu class. And then after class, someone had struck up a conversation with him because he had been more social, and he had asked a personal question, and now Karl got triggered. That activated him. He got triggered badly and had since then been very, very worried about that. And, he was kind of still stuck in the trigger. I think when we met was maybe 2 days after his jiu-jitsu session. So I said, all right, well, let's work through that. How did you feel when that person asked a personal question? Oh, I felt exposed. I felt ashamed about where I was at. I'm already 35 years old and I still have this social anxiety problem that I'm dealing with, and I don't have my life in order in the way that I should have. And so I felt shame and I get triggered and I didn't know what to do with myself in that moment. I'm like, okay, all right, so stuff has come up. Great, let's work through that. And so we did. We started working through the feelings that he had, processing these emotions, helping him feel calmer and come to terms with, emotionally accept where he's at without judging himself. And look at why that specific situation triggered him. By the end of the session, he could imagine being in that situation again where he was asked a question and he felt totally neutral, felt totally fine and at ease, and he was just more easygoing towards himself. In other words, he had increased his self-acceptance, a key to social ease. And then what proceeded was things just became gradually more and more effortless at jiu-jitsu, and since then he's actually enjoying his jiu-jitsu practice. So, key message of this video is when anxiety, quote unquote, comes back, it's actually not that it comes back, it's just another part that hasn't been addressed yet that you can then start to address and move beyond. Hope this was helpful. Talk to you very soon. Bye for now.